Namaste. This talk is a continuation of the previous talk titled The Advanced Science of Varna Dharma, and it is better to watch that talk first before listening to this. In the previous talk, we spoke about the four fundamental definitions of Varna as seen in different sacred texts. And we also spoke about how all the four, though seem different on the surface, as we go subtler and subtler, they arrive at the same understanding of Varna, which is of vibration. So when we say that there are different Varnas, it means that there are different frequencies of vibration. In this talk, we will try to understand how the four definitions of Varna correlate and come together in the human body. There is the origin of Varna as given in the Purusha Sukta, where Varna is spoken of as emerging from different parts of the body of the divine Purusha. And then finally, there is the manifestation of Varna as Guna and Karma, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Between these two, there is also the definition of Varna as Chandas, sound vibrations, and as color, the way it is mentioned in the Mahabharata. So to understand how these four seemingly different definitions of Varna come together, we have to have some understanding of the subtle anatomy, the Sukshma Sharira. There are 108 Yoga Upanishad texts. These texts talk about the subtle aspects such as nadis, pranas, and chakras based on the direct perception of these by yogis. In one such text called the Trishikhi Brahmopanishad, we find an interesting mention. Here it is said that different parts of the body correlate to different Panchabhutas. Panchabhutas are the 5 fundamental elements that make up all of matter. In the Vaisheshika Sutra of Rishi Kanada, he talks about the Panchabhutas as the most indivisible particles of matter. Vaisheshika Sutra is also one of the earliest texts which propose the atomic theory of creation, which validates our understanding that the knowledge of the rishis was at the level of atoms and subatoms, and it is from that understanding that Varna also emerged. Now let's look at how the Panchabhutas correlate to different parts of the body, and therefore different Varnas. It is said that from the sole of the feet to the knee, there is the dominance of the Prithvi Tattva, the earth element. So when the Rig Veda, the Purusha Sukta, talks about the Shudra Varna emerging from the feet of the divine Purusha, we can understand that this means that in the atoms of the body of a person of the Shudra Varna, there are the dominant gunas or qualities of the earth element, the Prithvi Tattva. Then from the knee to the hip, it is said that there is a dominance of the Jala Tattva, the water element. And from the hip to the navel, there is the dominance of the fire element, the Agni Tattva. Now, these two are said to be the region from where the Vaishya Varna emerges. So, it can be understood that when a person has the Varna of a Vaishya, it means that in his or her body, there is a dominance of the atoms or the subatoms which have the Agni and the Jala Tattva. From the mid of the body, that is from the navel up to the nose, is the dominance of Vayu Tattva, the air element. Now, the Kshatriya Varna is said to emerge from the arms of the divine Purusha. Therefore, in the Kshatriya Varna, we will find the guna of both Vayu and Agni Tattva as dominant. From the nose to the top of the head, it is said that there is the Akasha Tattva that is dominant. So when the Purusha Sukta says that the Brahmana emerged from the mouth of the divine Purusha, we can understand that in the Brahmana Sharira, the Vayu and Akasha Tattvas are more dominant. Now, these Panchabhutas, the five elements, are also said to correspond to specific chakras along the spinal column. To understand this correlation, we must now step into the language of chakras. Chakras find a mention in texts both from the Tantra as well as from the Vaidika Marga. For example, Lalita Sahasranamam talks about Devi as residing in each of the 6 chakras along the spinal column. Similarly, the Yoga Upanishad texts also mention chakras. Then there is the text which is the foundation for all those studying classical music, called the Sangeeta Ratnakara, which has detailed descriptions of each petal of each chakra. Further, we find that there are practitioners both from the Tantra system and the Vedic system who have perceived chakras through their sadhana and written about it. In the 16th century, there was the tantric practitioner and scholar Paramahamsa Swami Purnananda. He wrote the Shat Chakra Nirupana text, which describes each chakra, its petals, its qualities, and so on. Whatever Swami Purnananda wrote in the Shat Chakra Nirupana was later confirmed by none other than the 35th pontiff of the Sringeri Sharada Peetham, His Holiness Sri Abhinava Vidyatirtha Mahaswamigal. He has mentioned this in his book, Yoga, Perfection and Enlightenment. Not only did he confirm that whatever was written in Shat Chakra Nirupana is in fact true, he also added to it from his own direct experience of chakras. Like all things about the subtle anatomy, chakras too should be known and understood through the sadhak's direct experience. So, what is a chakra? Just as the physical, the gross body, the sthula sharira, has nerves, and the joining of several nerves we call plexus points. Similarly, in the sukshma sharira or the subtle body, we have nadis, subtle channels that carry prana. When several nadis meet, that junction is called a chakra. The traditional texts represent chakras in the form of petals of a lotus. One reason for this could be because when the nadis come together and when prana flows through it, it perhaps looks like the open petals of a lotus. The Shat Chakra Nirupana and the Sangeeta Ratnakara text specifies that each petal of each chakra has particular gunas and particular aksharas or alphabets of the Sanskritam language. One of the names of Devi in Lalita Sahasranamam is Matrika Varna Rupini. Here, Matrika is a reference to the alphabets present on each petal of each chakra. That means the vibration of each letter of Sanskritam and the vibration of each petal of each chakra is none other than Devi herself. In Shastriya Sangeetam, when a raga is conceived, it brings together different petals of different chakras in a conscious way to create a certain emotion. And that is why there is the clear understanding of the guna associated with the different petals. So with this alone, we see how Varna, which correlates to different chakras, has with it its own sound vibrations as well as guna. When we talk about the Panchatattvas correlating to the chakras, it is said in the Shat-chakra Nirupana that Prithvi Tattva is dominant in the Mooladhara chakra, which is the lowest chakra along the spine. The Jala Tattva is what influences the Swadhisthana chakra, which is in the region of the reproductive organs. The Agni Tattva correlates to the Manipura chakra at the navel. The Vayu Tattva to the Anahata chakra in the region of the heart. The Akasha Tattva or the Vayu Tattva, it could be one of these two based on the way the sadhak uses it, correlates to the Vishuddhi chakra at the throat. And the Akasha Tattva is what dominates the Ajna chakra between the eyebrows. Each of these chakras influence the endocrine glands situated in those regions of the body, because that which supplies prana to the organs is the chakra. Where does color come into the picture? Why is Varna also defined as color? That is because every chakra is also associated with a specific frequency of light vibration. So the Mooladhara is associated with the color red. That means it vibrates at the frequency of the red color. The Swadhisthana is associated with the orange color. So those who dominantly operate from the Swadhisthana chakra in a healthy way will radiate light of the orange color. Similarly, Manipura chakra is associated with yellow, Anahata with green, Vishuddhi with blue, and Ajna with all colors, meaning white. This is how the different definitions of Varna come together only when we understand chakras, or at least we are able to express it in the language of chakras. A sadhak who is subtle will be able to look at another person and know their Varna, either by being able to see the color of the light reflecting from the atoms of that person. Modern science calls this ultra-weak photon emissions. And they say that this happens in all biological systems. An easier way of remembering it is by using the colloquial word aura. So based on which chakra a person acts from or operates from dominantly, the atoms of the body will vibrate at that frequency, and consequently, a color of that sort can be seen in the aura of the person by those who are subtle enough. Similarly, we can also sense Varna through the vibration. Those who are subtle will know that different people vibrate in a different way, and these vibrations also carry the dominant guna associated with that vibration. When the Bhagavad Gita says that for the Shudra Varna and for women also, bhakti and seva is enough for them to attain the highest goal of the human birth, it does not mean that bhakti and seva is not required for the other varnas. The other varnas, in addition to cultivating bhakti and seva, has also to do mantra japa and certain rituals to raise their vibrations to their respective varnas. Whereas for women of menstrual age especially, and the Shudra Varna, through bhakti and seva alone, they can transcend the lower tendencies of the Mooladhara and Swadhisthana and make it vibrate in a healthy way, and also finally transcend Varna itself. See, the purpose of understanding and living life in accordance with Varna Dharma is not to create a sense of difference between people. Instead, it is to enable that which is the most suitable to a human's biology. By living life in accordance with Varna Dharma, one operates at his healthy best, and using the same principles, we can also transcend the body identity. When a human transcends the identity of the body and establishes his awareness entirely in the Atman, then the rules of Varna no longer apply. In such a state, the person is called a Jivan Mukta, or a spiritually enlightened soul. Until the individual reaches that state, the rules of Varna Dharma do apply, because these are not man-made constructs. These are realities of nature. There is a question asked whether there is some set of practice for the Shudra Varna, because the sacred texts, the Dharma Shastras, say that they cannot chant or listen to the four Vedas. So, is there some alternative for them by which they can attain the same end goal of what the other Varnas attain by chanting or listening to the Vedas? Such a question was put forward by the Devatas, led by Indra, to Brahmaji. And we find this question mentioned in the fifth Veda, called the Natya Veda or Natya Shastra, which is specifically designed for the Shudra Varna. Let's see what this question was that the Devatas put forward to Brahmaji. They said, we want an object of diversion which must be audible as well as visible. As the existing Vedas are not to be listened to by those born as Shudras, please create another Veda which will belong equally to all the Varnas. And that is why Brahmaji created the fifth Veda, the Natya Veda, taking portions from all the other four Vedas in the following manner. The Pathya, the recitative, he took from the Rig Veda, the song from Sama Veda, Abhinaya from the Yajur Veda, and Rasa or sentiments from the Atharva Veda. And thus was created the Natya Veda, connected with the Veda's principal and Vedopaveda, that is subsidiary branches, by the holy Brahma, who is omniscient. This is not just a symbolic fifth text. It is very clearly spelled out in the Natya Shastra what is the benefit of those who practice the Natya Veda instructions. It says, those who put into practice and witness carefully the performance of a drama will attain the same blessed goal which masters of Vedic knowledge and performers of sacrifices or givers of gifts will attain in the end. So we see that the art forms also can lead an individual to the same goal as to the Vedic rituals and mantra chanting. In fact, there are 64 forms of fine art. And Devi herself, one of her names is Chatushashti Kalamayi, which means she is in the form of each of these 64 arts. So a practice of any of these art forms is equivalent to the worship of the Divine Mother, and the artist will have an experience of the Divine Mother if it is done correctly by following the prescribed methods in the sacred texts. Every advanced artist, whether the practice is of dance or music or drama or painting as per the Shilpa Shastra, or in that, for that matter, any of the other 64 art forms, if an artist, if a performer trains as per the instructions in the Natya Shastra and the Shilpa Shastra and other associated texts, there will certainly come a point during their performance where there is a distinct awareness that the art is happening through their body, not by the body. There will be those moments where the artist realizes that something else seems to have taken over. The artist might even lose awareness of body and find that movements or music seems to be happening on its own. Such experiences are no different from what a yogi experiences through dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. If the artist is able to hold on to those moments where they transcend identification with the physical body and perform from that state, his experience will be very similar to that of a yogi. So we see that for every person of every varna and gender, there are practices that are suitable to them and which will take them to the final goal of every spiritual process.